Ashutosh, should we wait for him or we can get started with the session?
Yeah, I think we can start. So in between, he'll join in. Yeah.
Okay, great. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. We are we're conducting a big awareness session, considering the applications for the 17th call have opened, and as two partners coming together, HTIC MedTech Incubator has recently been awarded as has been set as the associate big partner, and FITT has already been there for a couple of years now as a big partner for the BIRAC big scheme. So today's session, the agenda is as follows. We will be discussing certain areas that are required for the applicant to focus on while making the application. And we will also be hearing from the house's mouth itself, Dr. Malay Dixit, who is who's already been granted the big scheme by BIRAC. So he will be sharing his overview and his challenges of his big journey. So before we get started, I'd like to introduce two centers to you. HTIC is an associate big partner, and the role of the associate big partner is to sort of handhold the big applicants in terms of helping them in writing up the application and also mentoring and supporting them through the application process. That's the idea of the associate big partner. And big partner, as all of you all know, we have 8 big partners that are nominated by BIRAC, and they support the applications in the process of getting the big completed, the journey completed. So we have before we go forward, I'll quickly take you through what HTIC does and what kind of work we do, so you understand the kind of activities that go on around the center. Let me just share my screen. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, it is visible now.
Okay, great. So HTIC is a joint initiative by IIT Madras and Department of Biotechnology under Ministry of Science and Technology. We're supported by BIRAC under the BioNet scheme, and we've been recently nominated as the big associate partner. So HTIC is actually a very unique center which has multiple parts to it. The first part is that they focus on doing healthcare and medical technology research. That is commercial research in terms of deploying affordable healthcare in different areas of medical technology, from diagnostics to medical imaging to robotics, different areas. So we've been able to collaborate with 30 different institutions, industry players, and we have about 80 researchers, engineers working at the center who support in developing these technologies and also support our startups in developing their technology as an assistant research. So we've deployed 4 technologies in the market, and we are sort of working on 5 different technology platforms right now, which is in progress. So we have about 25 startups incubated, and we have a rolling pre-incubation program. So we've built a very holistic ecosystem with engineers, clinicians, industry players, and government bodies. These are some of them that we've worked with and we're currently working with as well. These are the 4 technologies that have been successfully translated into the market and commercialized right now. The first one is the mobile eye surgical unit, which is a mobile delivery unit which does cataract operations. It's a mobile unit. The other one is actually processing, analytic, and computing software for ophthalmic screening. And the other one is just an offshoot from that. It's called Trinetra Neo, which is focused on ROP, retinopathy of prematurity. And the fourth one is iQuant, which is focused on developing test kits for rapid test kits for T3, T4, HbA1c, influenza, things like that. On the pipeline, we're also working on developing a country's first indigenous endoscope, and we're getting bigger on our point of care diagnostics team, and we also have a small team working on vital senses, and we're also doing some work in the robotic surgery space. So this is what our facility looks like for people who've not visited our center. So this is our incubation facility. This is some of the impact that we've created so far in terms of incubation, support, employment, etc. We also run multiple other programs like the Splash program and the Coverage program. This is some of the support extended to the startups in terms of funding, business support services, value additions, etc. This is our portfolio. With that, I'd like to stop and hand over to Ashutosh. Ashutosh, maybe you can. Ashutosh is from FITT, and he will be taking you through a quick overview of FITT and also give you some pointers on BIG before we can have Dr. Malay talk about his journey. Over to you, Ashutosh.
Yeah, thank you, Pratishtha. Good morning, everyone. I hope all of you are doing good and keeping yourselves safe. This is Ashutosh. I'm working at the Foundation for Innovation and Technology Transfer at IIT Delhi. I'll also share a few slides and discuss in detail. We are big partners right from the first call when the big program was started. And now we are into the 17th call. I myself, in personal capacity, is managing the program for the past 4 calls at FITT. So we are like learning from each other and getting some experience now. I'll just quickly show you a few slides. I hope you're able to see my slides.
Yes, Ashutosh, we can see a slide.
Sure. So I'll just briefly talk about FITT. So FITT was registered as a society in 1992. We started as one of the earliest incubators in academic organizations, and we do a lot of work. Like our whole mandate is end-to-end technology commercialization. So we do partnerships with industries, corporates. We do industry R&D projects, and more than 2,000 of them we have already done. We take care of the intellectual property of the institute, and now with BIRAC's National Biopharma Mission, we are also taking care of the intellectual property and technology transfer in the entire northern region of India. So more than in fact, about 1,000 patents now we have filed for the institute, and now we're providing the same services for startups as well. In terms of technology commercialization, so a lot of spin-offs have formed from the institute technologies also, and we keep on motivating other entrepreneurs. We do licensing agreements, so more than 100 tech transfers we have done. It's close to 125 now. We're also supporting startups, so we are having 3 incubators and now expanding into science and technology parks, where it'll be a larger facility, also having companies working there. So till now we have supported about 120 startups through incubation, but in terms of virtual and mentoring, like it's more than 250 startups that we have supported till now. We are part of a lot of funding programs as well from the Government of India, and part of innovation awards. So the National Entrepreneurship Awards that was started, so FITT was the first body to implement it in the first year. And similarly, we're doing with a lot of other government agencies, a lot of programs are running. We're having a large technical and business mentor pool, and our alumni also contribute a lot to that. And with that, the mentor pool actually keeps on increasing day to day, time to time. We have a nationwide network with major incubation centers and universities, and to provide the connects. So somebody who needs some specific access, so we can talk to a relevant agency or another incubator to maybe have a joint incubation program as well. Now, this is a small incubation unit that we have right now, but as I told, like the scale up is going on. So on the left, you can see the Research and Innovation Park that is coming up at IIT Delhi. The civil construction is almost completed, and now we'll be going into the internal fixtures and fittings. And on the right side, you can see the HTIC Techno Park, which is part of the IIT Delhi Sonipat campus, which is already operational, and our new Atal Incubation Center is housed there. So that's also one of the facilities where a new makers lab and a fab lab is coming up, which will be a state-of-the-art facility. A lot of support programs are organized for entrepreneurs, right from the ideation stage to product development, pilot scale, market entry. We have some training and mentoring programs as well. So as you see, like immersion and ideation programs like BIRAC Spursh, we have batch of 69 innovation awards, which is funded by our alumni mentors. Then these are for like the student startup 1, 2, 3, 4 is for the students of the institute. During product development, we are part of the BIRAC BIG program. With Pfizer, we have a public-private partnership model, and through their CSR, they support a few innovators. So this year, 4 companies we have supported with a fund of 60 lakh rupees each. We are also part of the PhD Incubator. So this is an institute's initiative itself, where for deep technology startups, we are funding 50 lakh rupees along with providing free incubation and accommodation also to the founders at our extension campus. We have specific faculty-driven programs where faculty members can actually get some funds from the institute to form startups. Recently, we have launched the Sonacom Star Safe, Clean and Smart Mobility program also. So for mobility startups, we are funding up to 80 lakh rupees. We're part of the MIT's TIDE program, DST's Nidhi Seed Support, Engineers India Limited Zeng Sui program, and a lot of other programs. I mean, we keep on adding to our portfolio. Again, like market entry programs, so BIRAC Lead Fund is there. We were also part of the DST Kavach program specifically for COVID-19, and we are right now supporting 8 startups here through funding and mentoring. And we do a lot of training and mentoring programs as well, especially for women entrepreneurs. The first 2 programs we are doing in partnership with DST, and with Invest India, we are doing the Wing program, which is like the regional partner is FITT. So 7, 8 northern states, we are conducting about 30 workshops for women entrepreneurs. We do a regular business mentoring program by alumni called the IIT Delhi IIM Bangalore Joint Mentoring Program, where our alumni members meet every month on 4th of Saturday to guide our startups. And then various other workshops keep on happening. So this is just a brief about FITT. We do a lot of other programs with industries and all. I won't go too much into details of these. So we'll straightforward come to BIG. Now, BIG, I think, is one of the major opportunities for biotech entrepreneurs in India these days. And I've seen a lot of startups in the past, like we have supported now about 80 odd startups through the BIG program, and many of them are doing good. So we'll be talking about that today. So it all starts with a big startup idea, and we'll be discussing a little bit about how exactly to nurture your idea and maybe apply to the program with more focused approach. Again, like entrepreneurship, there are a lot of government programs these days to support entrepreneurship, and obviously, I mean, there are a lot of advantages that it brings in terms of the national and regional developments, creating opportunities for people and for the entrepreneurs themselves. While there are a lot of challenges also that entrepreneurs face, including funding, including raw material suppliers, manufacturers, there are regulatory requirements and compliances. You have to have your own market entry models and all. You have to find out a good supply chain and distributor network. But that's where we try from our incubator side and from all the incubators across India, how to bridge these gaps and support the startups, right, starting from funding and then mentoring them through different areas. So there's this kind of support that an incubator provides. While we provide IP support, we conduct a lot of webinars, networking events, outreach. We assist in training and development. There's a whole ecosystem, so you can learn from your peers, other innovators. Sometimes you can find a raw material supplier or a distributor among the startups as well. So this whole ecosystem helps each other in a better way. Now we'll be talking about funds at BIRAC. So BIG is an early stage fund, and that's not the end, but there are other funds as well. So just to give a brief introduction. So during the ideation stage or an immersion stage, there are programs like SIIP, BIG. BIRAC is now opening a lot of EUA centers at different places, so that those will be nurturing young innovators. When we talk about proof of concept, so from between ideation and proof of concept is somewhere where BIG lies, and we'll discuss a little more about that. For faculty members, there's AIR, then we have SIBRI, CRS, and BIPP as you move ahead towards commercialization. So if there are any specific questions, then we can discuss. Otherwise, I'll move towards the BIG. So the whole idea of BIG is to foster generation of ideas with a commercialization potential. Now BIG primarily supports, while it says ideation to proof of concept, but it's not just ideation. So a lot has to go into it, and a lot of background study, sometimes some preliminary data, or sometimes an early prototype is also required, since it's a very competitive grant. And I'll discuss about that a bit ahead in the further slides. There's funding support of up to 50 lakh rupees, which is an unencumbered funding support. The only thing that happens is now when your revenue starts generating, so at that point of time, about 5% per year, then you have to return the grant. But then again, like, there's no liability as such. Once the product is successful, then only you have to pay back. So it's not exactly kind of a loan or an equity model, it's a grant. The project duration is 18 months. You can apply as an individual or a company. And then the disbursement of funds is milestone based. It covers almost all areas of biotechnology, starting from bioinformatics, medical or health biotechnology, biopharma, agrobiotechnology, biotechnology-based reagent services, and also industrial and environmental biotechnology. Now, many people ask, like, even we are not working in the domains of biotechnology, but can we apply? So, especially when we talk about medical devices, a lot of people from engineering, a lot of people from electronics, mechanical, AI backgrounds, they also apply to this program. That's very relevant. Only thing that is required to make it relevant for BIG is that there should be a connect with life sciences or with agri. So even if it's completely electronic device, but if it's solving a problem related to a medical challenge or something, then it can be considered as a relevant problem. Now, just to give a brief glimpse who can apply to the program. So most of you can read these things in the guidelines itself, which is available on the BIRAC website, and we will share a link after this program if you need. So any individual who is a graduate in sciences and an Indian citizen holding an Indian passport can apply as an individual. So for and again, like for company, they should be registered in India under the Indian Companies Act 2013. And to qualify as a startup under this program, because this is an early stage program, so while Startup India says 10 years, but for early stage, we count as 5 years. So the incorporation date should not be earlier than 5 years. So if you want to apply in the 17th call, your company should not be registered later than 1st of August 2015. So if it should be registered after 1st of August 2015. For individuals, it's mandatory to be physically incubated at an incubator to have the relevant support system and facilities to work with. A company which is having an in-house R&D facility can still work at their own facility, but if they are not having, then it's recommended to be incubated at an incubator. For an individual, if they are working at a not-for-profit company or an institute, then they need an NOC from their parent organization. So faculty members, when they apply, they need an NOC from the institute or somebody who's engaged in research project. I think the whole mandate or the whole idea is to work on it full time, but still, I mean, this is allowed. Private company employees are not eligible. In case they want to take BIG, at the time of application, they have to give an undertaking that they leave their job if they get the grant, and the same has to be complied with before accepting the grant. The company should be owned by Indian citizens in case it's a company. So more than 50% of shares should be held by resident Indian citizens. Now, again, like any company or any individual who has already received big grant is not eligible. You cannot apply as an individual if you have a controlling stake or you're more than 20% shareholder in a company. You have to apply through the company route only. And if the promoters share, if it's a company, then the promoters and stakeholders should not be holding more than 20% stakes in other companies. So now in the recent calls, they have in fact revised this. So the shareholders or the promoters at least should not be holding any shares in any other biotech company, any other ineligible biotech company, which is not a startup. This is a general process flow for BIG. The application submission deadline will be 15th of September. In the 2 weeks from the deadline, the eligibility check and preliminary screenings are completed. Then we start sending it to online reviews, which is completed within 6 to 8 weeks of the application submission. Then you're called in for a presentation, which happens somewhere around the 10th week after the application submission. So generally 10th to 12th week after the application submission, you'll be called in for a presentation if your proposal makes it through the eligibility checks and online reviews. And the technical evaluation panel primarily evaluates and scores the proposal, and then the expert selection committee kind of finally decides on the cutoffs of the scores, like how many proposals can be supported and what are the cutoffs. So usually within the 4th month, you get the results for the program. Now I'll talk about the things that matter in BIG generally, and these are very important when you'll submit an application. And I'll be talking about a little more in terms of the application itself in the next slide. But one thing is its relevance to the pertinent problems and also to biotechnology or life sciences or agri, as I discussed. The idea should have a considerable amount of novelty, so it should not be copied from somewhere else, or a product which is imported or product which is used elsewhere in the world, because IP is also considered. So there should be enough technical novelty in the product. The team is something which matters a lot, and I'll discuss about it a lot in the next slide. And even if you talk about investors, angel investors or VCs, I think team is something which is really, really important, and everybody bets on that. When I talk about possible or impossible, it's about the technical feasibility and also the targets that you are presenting within the 18 months time period. So it should be practically feasible in terms of technology and also feasible in terms of time, that the objectives you're laying out is possible within 18 months to complete. IP plays a major role, and IP is also having say when we talk about the evaluation criteria. So about 10 to 15% weightage is given to IP. So if it can generate a new patent or the technology that you're developing can be protected, that will be really helpful. Also, it's better to do a good competitive landscape analysis before applying. I think I'll just discuss those things in the coming slide, and a sound marketing strategy. Now, when we talk about proposal, and most of us here present today are planning to apply for BIG. So what would be an ideal proposal? Now you have to start right from the title and then a problem statement, share your vision clearly. Now, what happens to the title is that it has to be crisp and it has to be communicating what exactly you want to do. Now, many times people put titles like understanding the relevance of exploring the strains for, or so anything which is screening, exploring, understanding, they sound more like research proposals. So you avoid doing those things. Clearly write what you want to develop. So if you want to develop a medical device, for instance, for ICU patients, so just write your device's name and then what exactly it does. So that way it will be a good thing. Especially when we talk about big. So I was talking in the previous slides also that we have to start with a very clear problem statement. And also at what stage should we really apply to BIG? So when we talk about at what stage we should apply to BIG, now it's ideation to proof of concept, but it should not be just a preliminary idea where nothing has been done yet. It's expected, and because of the competitiveness of the program itself, it is expected that you have at least some preliminary data that lays a foundation and proves some technical viability of the project. And sometimes an early stage prototype which is developed, so that can be shown. It's always good if you come for presentations to show your prototypes and show your preliminary data, as that will help to like kind of strengthen your case. Now, when we talk about a clear problem statement, so a clear problem statement again has to define what exactly has to be done. Many times we see problem statements where a person defines a lot about the disease, and while that is not really required because the reviewer or the expert most probably will be aware of that, So for instance, I'm making a diagnostic kit or maybe a therapeutic for a disease A. So for the disease A, if you take 2 minutes or if you write almost like 10 lines on the disease itself, that will kind of take your time or take your space in the proposal. So you straightforward just have to define the disease in 2 lines. If you're making a diagnostic, just expand on what are the current diagnostic methods and where are the drawbacks, where are the gaps, and then you start with what exactly you can do to fill in the gaps. So that's where you can share your vision. So problem statement clearly is like just in a crisp manner, and also there'll be a word limit in the initial summary that will be provided. So just focus on the gaps and how you're fulfilling the gaps. That should be good enough instead of elaborating too much on things which are kind of obvious. Then you need to highlight on the technological novelty. So anything which you're doing novel, which in terms of technology is not already available, it's been done for the first time, or it's being done in a really different manner that makes a lot of impact. So that thing needs to be highlighted in the proposal. Your unique value proposition has to be mentioned. So again, like there you have to also take care of the competition. So so you can actually upload a table with a competitive landscape analysis in the proposal itself, where you really put on all the points that you think are relevant and the gaps that are being addressed by your proposal. So list out all the competitors, as many as you know, as many as you can find out through searches or through talking with different mentors, and then highlight their properties, and then highlight your properties and whatever you can do the best. Also mention what can be patented. So when you highlight on the technological novelty, that itself clarifies a lot of it. But again, in the IP, in the form when it's asked about IP, is there any background IP you're working on, or is there a potential to generate a new IP? So there you clearly mention that this is the part in the proposal, or this is the part in the device that can be patented, or the whole device itself can be patented. We talk about the relevance of the team. So the team has to be having complementary skill sets. I think most of the startups are usually aware of this, but just reiterating that again. So if you are expert in electronics and your device needs an interface where a chemical process is happening, maybe you can take somebody who's having that background. Maybe if some microbiology work is required, you can have a microbiologist in your team. You can have relevant advisors who can guide you in terms of technology, and maybe have a couple of business advisors also on the team. So relevance of team in terms of their expertise in the kind of work that is required and that is being done in the proposal, that will be really important. So if you're applying alone also as an individual, it's always good to have some members, advisors in along with you who can actually help you out in the proposal, or who can actually help you out in the product development itself. Then you have to give a clear description of objectives and milestones. So what exactly are you planning to do within the defined budget of up to 50 lakh rupees and the time given, which is 18 months. So don't overpromise, don't underpromise. Have a clear balance on that. Like, this is what I can achieve. So you have to define the final target that will be achieved in the program, and then also you'll have to give some breakups, like in 6 months what will be completed, in 18 months what will be completed in the final deliverable, and you have to define clear indicators of progress, and if they're quantifiable, that will be really good. So at the completion of that stage, somebody can actually just talk to you, look at the data that is available, or look at the initial prototypes that are developed, and can assess that the objectives have been met. Now, we talk about the business model and revenue model, and right from the problem statement, it should be clear who would be your customer. Now, many times, because we see a lot of proposals, sometimes people even miss who their real customer would be. So you need to identify the customers properly. And when we talk about devices, for instance, sometimes people just say patients, they have talked to patients, or so those won't be relevant. I think doctors, you can still talk to doctors, or influencers who will talk to an hospital's administration to buy the product, and the hospital administration itself might be the customer who will be buying the product. So have a clarity on who the customer is, It could be a B2B, it could be a B2C model that you have to define in your business model. Where the revenue will come from. So is it an equipment sales that is generating the revenue? Is it the service that is generating the revenue? Is it the consumables that will generate a long-term revenue for you? Sometimes the consumables can actually fetch enough revenue that you even give the initial equipment for free. So those things you just can think of and define in your business model and revenue model. And even if you can give some projections, so also you'll be asked about 3 to 5 years of projections. So you have to, first thing is when you are completing a POC, then you have to give a time when the product development or MVP will be completed, when you can actually launch it in market. And then from the launch time, how can you eventually scale it up? So a 3 to 5 year timeline is also requested during the presentation times. And in fact, it's good if you define it in a better way. Competition, I think I've already talked about. Be very aware of the competition. A lot of time it happens that during the presentations or during the reviews, the experts know a lot of other companies which even the applicant has not really thought about, or they are not aware of. So sometimes it may happen because the company may not have launched a product or might not be that popular as of now. But it's always good to do a good background search on what all other things are going on around and what the other companies are doing and how better you can do in terms of them. Also, it's important to understand the risk factors and regulatory processes. So at the time of application or at the time of presentation also, you should be aware what will be the regulatory requirements for this product, and you have to have a strategy for that from the beginning. So at least have an idea like what all you can do. If there are ethical clearances required, where will you obtain them from? If there are clinical trials required, where will you do the clinical trials? If it's a device or a clinically relevant project, it's always good to have a clinician. In fact, it's recommended, kind of mandatory, in fact, to have a clinician on board as an advisor or as a team member. So that will be helpful. And then you think about the budget requested. So you can ask for relevant budget based on what facilities you see are available in the vicinity or in the incubator. And then accordingly, you can prepare a budget. So this is the brief overview. I think if there are some very specific questions, we can take it. And so I would recommend to all of you who want to apply, must already have registered. But if you're not registered, please register and go through the application form. You can actually have multiple iterations. So at whatever level you feel, you can save the form, and then again when you log in, so you will be finding the same details to be filled or to be changed. So don't try and fill it in one go. You can actually just register, see the form once, start preparing your proposal, complete once, reiterate. You can talk to your incubation center, you can talk to HTIC, or you can talk to FITT if you need some suggestions on that. If you want to show it prior to final submission, we'll be happy to provide our inputs also. So that can be done. I'll just also share a few success stories from BIG, and Dr. Malay is one, although I've not included in these slides, but I think he has successfully developed the product and at stage now where commercialization is going on. I'll talk about Flex Motive, which is again like from a group of mechanical engineering students. They came up with this idea that disabled people who are using crutches are not able to use them properly because the round tip sometimes, even during the monsoon seasons, they dig up in the mud. Sometimes these people fall. Also, it takes a lot of energy to walk with that. So the design that you can see here, it mimics your foot itself. So when you put it down on the ground, it absorbs some shock, and while you take off again in the next step, it provides you a bit of push. So relative to a normal crutch, I think less energy is also required to use it from the disabled person. So Flexmo has already sold a lot of crutches. They got the BIG grant. Also, they've got some funding from Bharat Social for program, and I think these crutches are now available in the market, and already about I think 50,000 units they have sold. There's a company called Nanoglean Global who are making these. So it's primarily a textile-based company which is making this nanofiber mesh, which actually can trap pollutants, even viruses. So the initial product that they made is this nasofilters, which can just be worn on the nose itself, and you don't need to put a whole mask on your face. That's really important, especially considering the condition of air in our cities these days. So in winters, we see a lot of people using these. They also make these air pollution masks, and these days a lot of people are using them uh, for the use against viruses as well, especially in the COVID scenario. So I'll just finish in a couple of minutes. The True HB Hemometer, which is developed by Rig Nanosystems. So it's just a digital hemoglobin meter. There's a small strip that you can see. You prick your finger and place a drop of blood on the strip, and straight away it will give you the digital hemoglobin reading. This is from Arna Biomedical's post-mastectomy patients. They can actually use this. This is already available in market. The TAP Plan 3D by AlgoSurge, and the company which was incubated in Bombay and supported by us through BIG. So they can do a 3D reconstruction from X-ray images and provide an aid to surgeons doing total knee replacement surgeries and all in terms of better alignments. There's a company called Vailtude Primus, supported through BIG and our Pfizer program also. So they are developing multiple products. Their first product was immunomagnetic capture device, which helped in sample enrichment based on magnetic nanoparticles, antibody tagged magnetic nanoparticles, which is already like completed and developed. Their next product was IST, so IAST, which is an anti-microbial susceptibility test. So there you can put a sample and check like the the bacteria in the sample, what antibiotics they are resistant to, what antibiotics they are susceptible to. And then they're also making this CTB device, which is again an attachment to a normal microscope, which converts it into a TIFR based system. And using an AI model, they can actually identify. So initially they're using it for TB diagnosis. Cutting edge medical devices had launched a portable urine protein analyzer. Clensta is one of the companies who have launched these waterless body wash and waterless shampoos. So they're not alcohol based. They're like compositions where the bottle is just like a spray bottle. You can spray it on your body. The shampoo, you can spray it on your hair and rub it off with your hand, and then wipe it off with a towel or a tissue paper. So you feel like you've taken a bath, and obviously the dirt and all is removed. So especially for patients who are on bed, they can't go to washrooms, they are using it. The people in our defense forces, especially Navy and Army, deployed where there's no water to take bath. So they are using it, and it's finding a lot of use cases. And they're developing edible toothpaste and other things as well. So I mean, a lot of such other products have also been developed under the BIG program. And I'll just thank you here. And I would like to talk. I would like Dr. Malay to talk about his own experience about BIG and how the program has helped him and his journey as an entrepreneur that he can share with you. Dr. Malay, can you take up the stage now?
Hi. Can you Ashutosh, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, this chance. And hi, everyone. My name is Malay Dikshit. I'm the founder of ICM Health Sciences Private Limited. We are in the business of dental burrs and dental consumables, which later on we will expand to other medical facilities. Essentially, we are a medical device company. I got a grant from Big 11 scheme, 50 lakhs from FITT. I got incubated at IIT Bombay, SIGN. Our company now has a DSI recognition, and after we completed big grant, we also applied for a BIPP grant, which we successfully got sanctioned. In terms of credentials of why my opinion could actually help you out is also that in course of my product development post our big grant, I also got in touch with made friends, mentors who are jury panels, reviewers of your projects, etc., etc. Have got a chance to interact with them on how they think, etc. So here's my two bits on how to go about filling the form or presenting yourself in front of big for a higher probability of winning, which may not always be written in the books, but here goes. Yeah, before that, I'll also want to tell you that in my journey of being at a pre-concept stage and approaching big to today, we have made presentations to a BIRAC, FITT, to investors, and also in the process of publishing papers. These are very, very different modes of communication. So if you feel you've got a perfectly written research journal paper already and hence you're ready for a big presentation, no, that's not the case. If you thought that your big presentation is ready and you are really ready to go to an angel investor because your presentation, etc., is already done, no, that's not the case. These are very different mindsets of examiners, of evaluators, of decision makers. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now coming to instructions of filling the form, there'll be enough material on your websites, on the BIRAC websites, on the big grant websites, on FITT. What's the procedure, how to go about it, what's the template, etc., etc. Please do not forget to read it very properly. It's helped me a lot. And also, if you dig deeper into the BIRAC website, I had found out instructions to evaluators, let's say of technical review committee or the executive screening committee, how they are going to evaluate the proposals. So that I found, and it's out there in public. So I found that to be extremely useful. Second thing I have realized is our peer group, within our peer group, the scientific idea is very well written. But how and why does our concept have a chance to go to the market? Why will someone buy it? Who will buy it? How much money will someone pay for it? It's an overlooked aspects in our applications. Now, on a very unrelated note, to understand where do you stand in the market, what is the landscape, what is your chance of winning. The biggest asset over there is humility, and it's a bit of a surprise of what has got humility to do with mapping your market opportunity. Invariably, us and our peers, all of us around will have really brilliant ideas. If you think you've got a great idea, there'll be like 100 other great ideas out there which sound much more fascinating. However, the perspective of your product, is it a better solution than what is existing in the market? Is it instead of this, I propose that? Or is it a new to the world product, which is, let's say, I am developing a COVID vaccine or a rapid testing kit for brucellosis? These solutions did not exist. This is a completely new market. This market did not exist, and I'm launching a new product. Is it that, or am I proposing a better solution instead of the existing? So examples of that would be, at my product level, I was making nano-engineered diamond burrs, dental burrs, which is a better product versus what's existing in the market. One colleague of mine in IIT Bombay is developing a spray which can be used to pulverize. I mean, you pulverize the skin and put it in the spray form onto a burn victim. Now that sounds very novel, but it is instead of a skin graft. Even though your idea sounds extremely novel, if it is instead of something, that defines your market. So be very clear about what your product is, because it gives you a better mapping of your market. Who are competing? What is the current methodology? What do doctors do right now? Whatever, as relevant to you. how do you want to position your product? It comes better when you know what is the existing solution outside. And secondly, your evaluation panels, whether it's technical expert committee or the executive screening committee, these guys are also going to do the same thing. They are going deep into this. They'll do cross checks on these lines. They will talk to experts. They'll take second opinion, even after they like your idea or even when they don't like your idea. They're going to do it anyways. So you need to be very clear. Last 2 points regarding IP first. If you really feel that your idea needs protection even before showing it to big, and that's how I felt, that before I make my presentation to anybody, whether it is big or anybody, let me try protecting it. So first I had gone and done a provisional patent. It's a good idea to do that. It doesn't take too much money. It doesn't take too much time. Just find out an IP lawyer. Even if you don't have a big grant, you would have enough money to pay a patent attorney to file a provisional patent at least. So that's one small tip I have. If you feel strongly that your technology is patentable, and it also gets a lot of credibility while you're presenting. And lastly, actually Ashutosh talked about it. Definitely show your presentation to FITT or BIRAC or whoever is, let's say, an incubator setup that you are in. However brilliant you think it is already, you might feel that your presentation is already brilliant. You don't need to show it to anybody. Please definitely show your presentation to these people. They will look at it from an examiner's view. They will have a better context from a big perspective. So these are my few tips. I have purposely kept away from trying to talk about how great my product is and what innovations have happened, etc. I've kept it for another day. This is just for the audience which is about to apply for a big grant. I wish all of them a lot of good luck and all the best. I'm available on mail. Ashutosh has my mail coordinates, so if anybody wants help, I'm most welcome. Thanks, Ashutosh.
Thank you, Dr. Malay, for the wonderful insights. And I think it's always good to hear from a successful big innovator who has also successfully developed the product and launched it. Many thanks to you. And now I think, Pratisha, we can take the questions.
Yes, Ashutosh, I think we can take the questions.
All right, so I can read them from the chat box and...
Sure, yeah. So I think the first question is from Muthu Kumaran. I think his question was already answered through your presentation. Muthu Kumaran, do you still have any queries?
No. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't need to register a company. You can apply as an individual. That's completely fine. Although we expect at a later point of time, if you get the grant, you should register a company, but not for application, not required for application.
The other person was Sanskriti. I think even her question was on similar lines. If you can apply as an individual.
Sorry, Pratisha. Sanskriti is from my team only. I think she was answering the previous question. So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I forgot to introduce Sanskriti is working with us and also helping me manage the BIG program. And in fact, now she'll be kind of more independently handling the program. So she can answer a lot of questions also. Yeah, so Mr. Nayak, so Ranu Nayak, yeah. So can we propose a new idea that is transformable into a device but has not been patented or published? Definitely, but as I discussed, like if you have some preliminary work done, that will be useful. It's always good if it's not published elsewhere. But yeah, if it has not been patented, then you definitely check its patentability. If you feel it's patentable, then go for a patent. Or even in the application, you can propose that this is the part that will be patented. Sometimes we do a preliminary, wherever we feel it's required, we do a preliminary patent analysis also. So prior art search is done on that. So you can definitely propose a new idea. Yeah. And it's in fact, it's for that only. From Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Gupta, definitely LLPs are considered. Again, the same thing, like within 5 years of their existence. LLPs can also apply to the program. can there be multiple institutes or multiple people filing together? So what happens is not for multiple institutes as such, what this is for companies or individuals. So if it's a startup company, so if I say that IIT Delhi or HTIC wants to apply, so two institutions won't apply for this. It will be either an individual, even if there are two people who want to apply and there's no registered company, one of them have to take the project as the lead, and the other one could be added as a team member. So that is possible. If you're working at one institution as a faculty, still you'll apply as an individual, not as a faculty member through the institution. You'll just take an NOC from the institute that I want to apply for this, and then you can apply as an individual. And you can have whatever collaborators from anywhere, whatever you want. I mean, they can be team members or just outside advisors. That's completely fine. But this is not for institutions. Then can an individual hold controlling stake shares in other companies in non-medical areas? Yeah, that is fine. If it's in non-medical areas, then it's fine. But if you still hold a controlling stake, you have to clearly define what the other company does. That will be used for an eligibility check. AI-enabled MedTech device, definitely AI-enabled MedTech device can be considered. So there are two things. While it's just adding AI to an existing device, while you're also, while the other thing could be like developing the device as well as an AI engine for that. So if it's developing both cases, it's a strong proposal. But if you just want to add AI to some existing device, which is not from your group, then it won't be easily considered. If the device also has been made by you and you just want to add AI, then it depends on how much really it is required. But definitely AI-enabled MedTech devices can be considered. Then video recording of the session, I think Pratishta can share that. Grant,
yeah. We usually put up our video recording on YouTube, but because this is very specifically for big awareness, we will share the link with you. You can take a look at the recording.
Yeah. So the next question is about medical diagnostic or surgical equipment used in ENT department. Yeah, definitely. I mean, anything which is useful in any relevant medical department, that can be considered. You can have international expert advisors in the proposal. That's not a problem. So if you're a faculty associated with a university, you just, okay, any steps to be taken for NOC application so that we don't face any hindrance from the university level. Now, there are two things. You can just check with the university. The first thing would be the policy. If they allow faculty members to form startup companies, and a lot of institutes allow these days because of the rankings that come in, like the NIRF rankings and ARIA rankings these days usually account for the number of innovators and faculty entrepreneurs and all that. So most of the institutes have started allowing now, but you can still check with your institution. So if they allow registering a startup, that will be a really good thing. And again, I mean, taking an NOC won't be a difficult thing. If the university does not allow a faculty member to form a startup, then it becomes a little challenging even for the committee to consider the proposal. So in that case, while you can take an NOC and apply, but most probably the committee will recommend you for the PACE program, which is another program under BIRAC, which is specifically meant for faculty members. Now, landscape analysis, we were talking about the competitive landscape analysis. So you primarily have to check who are the competitors. As Dr. Malay also pointed out, it's not just the similar devices that people are making, but for any particular challenge for which you're providing a solution, what all is being done till now to solve that problem. So as he mentioned, giving a very good example that if you're putting up a spray while a patch is already available, the patch is also a competitor. Now what you have to do is like to give you advantages. What advantages will this spray will be having over a patch? So that way, so you actually try and figure out what other companies are doing similar things or solving the similar problem primarily, how they're doing it and how this solution will be better to theirs. uh, percentage of equity. So as I told, there's no percentage of equity for the 50 lakh rupees. But once you start generating revenue from this product, so 5% of your annual revenue will share with BIRAC till the time the fund that they have given is returned back. So there's no interest on that. Only thing is, like in small tranches, once you start generating revenue, you have to return that. So, but otherwise, there's no liability in such. I mean, if the product doesn't succeed, then you don't have to pay back anything, and there's no equity involved. So data analysis column, I'm not sure what is being referred to, but I think there are two things. One is like have a good background data. In case you have whatever background data is available, try and show it to the committee so that you, at least the one that can prove the technical feasibility of the proposal. And apart from that, I think in a tabular form, you can clearly show, as I was discussing, about the competitive things. So that is it. You can definitely write to HTIC or FITT for further support with the application, and even at later stages we help and mentor with the presentations also. And especially for academic people like who are coming out of research labs and they want to apply, I think the whole expectation is quite different. So it's always better if you apply in a consultation with the incubator or with a big partner or a big associate partner. That would be helpful for you.
Just to add to what Ashutosh mentioned, if you are not incubated anywhere as well, then you can reach out to either FITT or HTIC based on the region. And because incubation is one of the key mandates for the big application, so once you're incubated, the application also is eligible for the grant, the process.
Yes.
So you can also reach out to either based on your region.
Yes, and also, I mean, in order to save time, sometimes the incubation process can take a couple of weeks. So for your application, you can just take a letter of intent. So the way we do is that we provide a small letter of intent that we support you in your initiative of BIG application and all that. And in case you get selected, then we'll consider your application for incubation. So that letter itself is sufficient in terms of crossing the eligibility guidelines and all. But if you are recommended for the grant, before getting the grant, then you'll have to be formally incubated and you should be having a MOU with the incubator. So for the application, you can probably have a letter of intent. That'll be good enough. Then, yeah, you can apply for a screening device. Yeah, if you've already filed the provisional patent application, that's good. That's in fact, so you can tell that the provisional application has been filed and you're generating data for the final complete specification filing. So from Recture AI, you're using an imported device, but putting on AI engine software solution. So it seems a bit difficult case, but then again, like how much value addition it does to the device. So we'll have to kind of, maybe we can discuss this offline separately and give you a clear direction on that. Yes, virtual reality for healthcare can be funded. If an individual applies, he needs to set up. Yeah, so if an individual applies, because even if the individual is already working at a research lab, but it's expected that you won't be using your institute labs for, because this is more of a commercial activity, you're ultimately leading to a product which is going to be commercialized and generate business. So that's where it's always good to be at an incubator. And also the incubator provides you a lot of other things, as I discussed in one of the slides. Especially when you apply as an individual, we support you in a lot of different things, also help you sometimes to form companies. You can know the processes, compliance, how to raise funds. So incubator will definitely be useful. And for individual, it's mandatory, in fact. Yeah. Then an equity to be given for incubation, that depends on the incubators, wherever you incubate. So in BIG, there's no restriction. Only thing that we see is that the incubator should be a registered entity or should be like a recognized entity. Apart from that, they should be having the facilities that you need. So as long as they are there, you can incubate anywhere in the country, and the incubator's own rules will apply in this case. If you're associated with a university but don't want to register a startup but apply as an individual, so while you can apply as an individual, Dr. Priyanka, but what happens is it's generally expected that you register a company because this program is primarily to support entrepreneurs, and maybe if not already a company, then our expectation would be that once the product is developed, then you register a company. If you're just looking for a tech transfer route, only in rare cases I've seen that coming across then getting funded, but usually they'll recommend you to other programs of BIRAC which are meant for faculty members. For instance, Space AIR, which gives similar funding and is specifically meant for faculty members. Certificate for attending webinar, I think if somebody needs, we can think of. Otherwise, it's more of like an awareness session. All right, so we'll also share our mail address. I'm also sharing my email address in the chat column. Parag is asking, I've applied for Nidhi Prayas, however, I haven't got any news from them. Can I apply for BIG? So I think as long as you haven't really got a grant, you can apply for as many grants you want. Once you get some grant, then you have to think of like you'll be eligible for some, you won't be eligible for others that way. But yeah, I mean, during the application process, even like BIG, also people can apply multiple times as long as they don't get it. So once you take the grant, avail the opportunity, then again, like it's not available for you for the next time. But apart from that, you can apply as many programs you want. So I think I've answered. If I missed any question, you can just speak out, or otherwise I think we are done with the session. And anyways, I'm sharing the number and email ID so you can contact us. So Prerna, it's not any mandatory limit as such, but for the execution of the program, whoever you think is required, so that kind of expertise should be there with the team members. So as I was discussing, if I'm making a diagnostic device, which is also involving electronics, which is also involving biosensors, so I might need somebody who's an expert in chemical engineering, microfluidics. I might need a person who's expert in electronics. I might need another business advisor. So I mean, just see like who all will be really required to execute the project. So at least try and have that many number of people in the team. So it's not like really there's any limit that this is the minimum or this is the maximum, but depends on the proposal, and the more better the expertise of the people you're taking on board in the domains that are required, that will be better. So Jibin, I think you can discuss with Pratishtha or Muthu for incubation at HTIC. I think that should be good.
Yeah, Jibin, you can write to me. I've shared my email, so we can take you through the process.
Yeah, so we can do another session about IPs. In fact, we have a dedicated IP team, and as I discussed with the National Biopharma Mission of BIRAC, we have a regional technology transfer office. So if you feel, we can hold another session, especially in IP and tech transfer. So Rector is asking that scientific advisors cannot be paid. Yeah, if he's an advisor, I think not to be paid regular salaries anyways. Advisors would most probably be employed somewhere else, but some minimum consultancy fee probably you can take. Now, you're a startup, so you have to do cost reduction wherever possible. Only in case you feel that the expert is like really important and without them the work won't happen. So you can pay some consultancy fee to them. That can be done through outsourcing.
Okay, in the interest of time, maybe we can take other questions offline.
Just one last question, like
From Prem, yeah.
IP ownership. So I think this is an important question. So neither BIRAC nor the big partners, associate partners will take any IP ownership. IP will fully belong to the company, the startup company or the individual. All right. So I think we had a good session. Thank you, Pratishtha. Thank you, Mr. Singharam, for organizing this and allowing us to speak here. And we look forward to some more sessions. And again, to BIG applicants, whoever requires some help, please reach out to us. And whatever suggestions we can help out with, we'll be happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashutosh, for coming online and sharing your insights from your big experience, and also to Dr. Malay for sharing his journey on big. Thank you all the participants for patiently listening, and thank you, Ashutosh, for patiently answering all these questions. We will reach out to you for any support. You guys, you can also reach out to us for support or incubation support. We will connect you to FITT if you have any incubation requirement based on your regional setup, based on where you are set up. So yeah, thank you so much once again. Hope to see you guys in the next session, any other upcoming sessions that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.